Joining us now is the great Ben Burgis. He's author of Give Them an Argument, Logic for the Left. He has a great Patreon page, which you should be a part of. He is a professor of logic, as Jesse Lee Peterson would say, at Perimeter College at Georgia State University. And he is also the inspiration behind this incredible Debunk song, which, by the way, Ben, this song got a shout out from Anna Kasparian earlier today. Interview to be released tomorrow.
Nice.
Waves. You ready, Ben?
Yeah, come on, let's do it.
I want to go to mockery really badly.
I will.
So please go.
Okay.
You got to restrain me. Debunk all of it. Logical analysis. You're going to show us how to argue that. Go.
This is based on data from a bunch of different countries. There's abundant evidence that at this point that's bullshit. Breaking down these right-wing arguments and looking at how they're supposed to fit together.
Okay, break it down. Break it down. Break it down, Ben. Break it down, Ben.
Pretty good.
You know, I gotta say,
I thought you'd heard that before.
The other day, I was looking over some YouTube comments on one of these,
right?
And somebody
why?
said, that, I know.
Why would you do that to yourself?
I know. I shouldn't do that, and I certainly shouldn't admit to it, but I did. So, and somebody said like, "Oh, Ben always lapses into awkward silence when the song starts." You know, I'm listening to the song. Right. I mean, like, do you people just talk over everything? Come on, what's wrong with you?
See, don't read YouTube comments, but also you've been put on notice, you bastards. All right, Ben, what do we have this week, brother?
Yeah, so we've got a clip from a debate I did on Blogging Heads with Noah Smith, who's an opinion writer from Bloomberg.
Nando's a big fan of his.
He's got the best takes in the game. Like he's like just he's like a child. He really is like a child. I love him, and he's like so little. He's like innocent too, in a way.
Can I be honest with you? There's some of these people, like I knew he existed. Ben, I had no idea who this person was till you debated him. And
really?
That's nothing.
Nothing.
I feel like I'm not doing my job. I don't know who this guy. I mean, I have a flavor of him, which we'll get to in a second. But
he's one of my favorites. I would say that his whole shtick is to basically like rebrand neoliberalism as a positive thing. Right. But that leads him to like some hilarious things, like some hilarious paths. But he'll be like, I think it's good that, we use the word neoliberal. I think it's cool. Like it's, it's new and it's liberal. That's what I am. Hey, like.
Hey, so is he sort of like, is he a little like Iglesias-y?
No, yeah. he's way nicer than Iglesias. Iglesias is like
Iglesias is kind of a dick.
He's an asshole. Yeah.
And he's a better human being than Iglesias.
Yeah.
I mean, politically, I don't know how far apart they are, but he's like let's put it this way. It's like very unsurprising that he's into Elizabeth Warren.
Yes. Yes.
Yep. Yeah. The twerps break for Warren.
Yeah.
All right. Well, and obviously. Not Ben. I'm just being a little polemical there. Okay. Excuse me. Not Noah. Noah. Yeah. What's his name?
Noah
Smith.
Jesus Christ. I literally can't even keep track of this gentleman's name. I got to get better. I had no idea who he was. So he's sort of like if Jonathan Chait and Iglesias were mashed up and produced somebody nice.
He's nowhere near as right wing as Chait, though. Okay, I would say.
Chait's pretty right wing.
Yeah. He did like a. To his credit, he did do like a very he went on like a Bolivia kick, and he was like, actually, Bolivia is the socialist country that really we should be talking about because of all its like great economic successes in the past 15 years, and it's like, yeah, true,
I like that,
yeah.
All right,
like something that Chait would never.
Props?
Yeah, Chait would never write that piece.
No, Chait would be like, I've actually heard that Avo is an Iranian asset.
Yeah.
All right, Ben, what are we gonna play and what are we gonna debunk?
Yeah, so this is going to be about the contrast between Warren and Bernie on wealth tax and other things. And I think the content, speaks for itself, but I would say that the sort of argument that he's making here kind of gets down to something we've talked about previously, which is inference to the best explanation. Like we've got some data and we say, all right, what's the best way to explain this? And the data is going to be about the differences between Bernie's plans and Warren's plans. And he's got one explanation, I've got another. And that's what we're about to hear.
All right, let's play this for a minute, and then Ben will throw back to you.
But then in terms of just like a Europe-style wealth tax, just like shave 1% off your wealth every year, Warren mainstreamed that, really. Now, and she came out with this big proposal. Everyone was talking about it. Then Bernie
Sanders did propose something called a wealth tax in 2014, but keep going.
Yeah, no, I know. But it wasn't quite the same. But anyway, the point is that nobody really talked about it, and Warren was the first to make this a pillar of the campaign. Here's the question. If Warren's proposal for the wealth tax had been exactly the same numbers that Bernie's are now, starting out at 3% and going up to 8%, whatever, for exactly the same brackets. If that had been Warren's proposal to start out with, what would Bernie's proposal be now? Would it be the same, or would it be double what he proposed? And I mean, it's a rhetorical question. We can't know. My guess is that it would be double or substantially higher, because the goal was to create policy daylight. Now, that doesn't mean he wouldn't really want those numbers. Maybe he'd want any number of wealth tax would be fine with him. But my guess is that those numbers were set. It feels very, 7-minute abs. Do you know that reference? Mm-hmm. Like there was 8-minute abs, and then there was the granty guy in the back of the car saying 7-minute abs. It feels very 7-minute abs, and that's not necessarily wrong. Like maybe a higher rate is better. Why not do 7-minute abs if you can get abs in 7 minutes? But my feeling is that if there had been policy similarity between the two, Bernie would increase and just amp up whatever proposals. Like on Saturday Night Live, he's like, I'm going to turn it up to a 10. I feel like that's actually what he's doing. And because it's political, because he's outflanking Warren, or trying to, with taking similar proposals and just amping up the numbers. Warren said, you're going to forgive most student debt. I'm going to forgive all student debt. Whereas Warren, Bernie was first on healthcare, right? Bernie was first on healthcare. Warren didn't bother trying to outflank Bernie on healthcare. She just said, you know what? I'll do that.
Bullshit.
So, okay. First of all, I think that we need to know a lot more about what Warren has in mind on healthcare before we can do a comparison of them. But secondly, I think that when it comes to something like the wealth tax, sure, I don't really know what what Bernie's what sort of when he issued the proposal, he certainly hinted that he thinks that something even higher than this, would be reasonable, right? But they have I don't know where, if he had a magical wand to just not worry about getting it through Congress or whatever, and he could just have whatever wealth tax institute he wanted to, I don't know where that would be set. But I think that when it comes to student debt, I think that's much less susceptible to the 7-minute abs interpretation, because what he's proposing as student debt is so obviously consistent, and I don't, even it could be that Warren proposed her first. That's not my memory of the order, but whatever. That's beside the point, right? I think that they have regardless of which order they were proposed in.
All right, Ben, we're seeing the jousting.
Yeah.
Break down the logic.
Two intellectual titans going mano a mano.
So the point is this. What I go on to say is, if we were having this conversation in 2016, I say, hey, Bernie's going to run again in 2020. And this time he's not just going to talk about abolishing tuition to private universities. He's going to say something about student debt. What would you expect him to say? Of course, what you would expect him to say is, I'm going to completely get rid of it.
Right.
Because
Absolutely.
That would be the Bernie style proposal, that he always proposes sweeping universal programs. What you'd expect, what Warren did is what you'd expect from Warren, that, up until a certain threshold, we're going to forgive it all. And then after that, it's going to be 50% or whatever. Honestly, I don't quite remember the details of her thing, because when I heard it, my eyes started to glaze over about halfway through,
right?
Which is kind of the problem as far as
excited by her Medium posts. I'm so fucking sick.
It's so embarrassing.
It's so everyone's like, it's a detailed plan. It's a plan. I remember in the beginning of the campaign when they would say that, I honestly, more humility from me, I literally was like, I must not be getting the links properly because these are media. These
All
must
I
be
see is
blog
media.
posts that are summarizing actual pieces of legislation she's put forward.
Right.
That's what I thought.
Yep. Nope. Just Medium posts. And again, it's worth underlining that, I teach logic and philosophy classes for a living. I think I have a higher tolerance than most people for things that are kind of dry. And I'm also a political junkie, and my eyes started to glaze over halfway through this.
That says a lot.
Yeah.
So that's probably not a winning strategy. If you're just sort of expecting random swing voters in Ohio to remember exactly what the details were of what you said in your Medium post about student loan debt so they can get excited about it, which of course is the technocratic strategy, right? So Warren represents the left wing of the of this kind of technocratic Democratic Party politics. But the way she presents it is still continuous with it, which is like, even if no matter how much of a political junkie you were in 2016, you didn't know exactly what Hillary Clinton was going to do, proposing to do to reform the ACA.
Because she'd do to Haiti.
Yeah. You knew that.
Or to Epstein.
Yes. Yeah, right.
But the idea was, if you really care, you can read like this policy paper or whatever. But basically, the message is just trust us. Right? We have best interests at heart. We'll figure out something for you. And we saw how that went. And so the idea that like even if the policy substance of it is well to the left of Clintonism, well to the right of Bernieism, but well to the left of Clintonism, that same strategy is going to pay off. This is just a footnote, but that seems like a very bad bet. There's a reason why in crucial swing states she's losing to Trump right now.
Absolutely.
These people don't understand that it doesn't really matter. Like in a campaign, like the detailed plans don't really matter. Like I remember like these mind-numbing arguments during the 2016 primary when they were trying to like make the argument that Hillary Clinton was the most progressive candidate like in the history of the world. And they would like point to you. They would like, look at her website, the things on the website. And it's like
that she never talks about.
That's not, yeah, exactly. That's not politics. Like if you're not like running on, like, if you're not making it your campaign, that's not the thrust of your campaign. If it's just on some website, like who cares?
Right.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And if you talk about it all the time, and if it's very easy to remember because it's very simple, e.g. Medicare for all, forgive all student loan debt, then people get a lot more excited about it. So that's the politics of it. As far as the argument goes, I think that on the example of the wealth tax, there might be a germ of truth to this claim but I think that's not 7-minute abs. That's Bernie starting from a different place ideologically than Warren is. So Warren, I think, sees the wealth tax primarily as a way of raising revenue, which is fine. That's one thing it's good for. I think what Bernie's interest is in having a society that doesn't have billionaires.
Right. Exactly. Ben Burgis, the debunk, logic for the left. Give them an argument, logic for the left. Check out his Patreon page. Really, I read original essays every week from Ben. And then you can hear him, obviously, every week with us, but also a lot of times on the David Feldman show. Ben makes the rounds.
I heard you on the Richard Wolff show.
He was on.
That was good.
Yeah, it was fantastic. Fantastic interview with Richard Wolff. There was an even better interview with Richard Wolff that also happened recently in a certain sense. And then also a lot of original videos for Zero Books as well.
Ooh.
I'll talk to you next week, Ben.
Yep, sounds good.
Always a pleasure. Thanks, man. You just watched a Michael Brooks show video. Subscribe to get them all. Why wouldn't you? Don't be foolish. Click subscribe below and become a patron as well. Patreon.com/TMBS. Thanks, everybody.